Hello, welcome to the Forest School podcast. Thank you for tuning in on your podcast players or on YouTube or the video Spotify's, wherever you're listening. I am Lewis Ames. I'm joined by Southerden, and
Hello.
today we're talking about the world of false memories and what roles they might play at Forest School and what role they might play in nature connection. One of the things we're looking at is whether these kind of false, muddy memories could actually enhance our connection to nature.
Yeah, and we also talked about how we as educators or facilitators might handle those stories, or how we might react to them if they're not maybe entirely factual. And also we talked a little bit about whether there actually might be a positive side to these kind of muddy memories that we might call them as well. Maybe they have a positive impact on us.
Yeah, so grab an imaginary talking owl and let's go down the episode. Yo!
Yo, yo!
Yo, yo. Yo.
Hello, hello.
What is your necklace? It looks like an upside down rainbow.
It is an upside down rainbow. It's just a new birthday present. It's not any specific meaning as far as I'm aware. I hope it doesn't mean something bad.
Whoa.
I'm not aware of, but I doubt it. The lady who makes them seems pretty chill. I don't think she's a secret evil person.
Oh well, I was
You met a secret evil person the other day.
No, I didn't meet a secret evil person. I'm not a secret. No, and I'm going to tell you why I know I'm not. Because so I'm in like prep mode at the moment. I'm doing Devon's Strongest Man competition tomorrow, which is why I'm looking so fucking huge.
Hey, do you know what? Actually, me too. That's why it isn't like all the ice cream and cream teas I just ate in Cornwall.
Oh,
I'm actually doing Devon's chunkiest woman tomorrow as well.
Oh man!
And it's
I'll
all
see you down
based around cream. Yeah. Okay, come on.
Woo!
Yes.
I was making myself feel good. One of the things I do to make myself feel good is like, cut my hair, shave my head.
Yeah.
And before I did, I had the clippers out, and I was like, as I was doing it, my partner Tanya said, "Are you going to do like racing stripes so you go even faster tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I put I used the clippers to put like a little lightning bolt in this because I knew I was going to shave my head off. Shave my hair off anyway. So I was just like, bzz, bzz, bzz. What I'd done is one half of an SS logo, and I immediately I went, "Cool, a lightning bolt." It's not a lightning bolt. Get it off, Lewis. Get it off. You already.
Oh my god.
It's.
Jeez.
It's not the look.
It's not
the look. So just because you said secret evil person,
it's not the move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the look. It's not the look I want, or believe in, or in any way support. Right. We are in. This is another one of my. Well, you said that I've been suggesting this topic for a while. I think I have.
Yeah, I think you have. I'm like, okay, cool.
And this one was picked by our Patreon listeners. We put up a poll on our Patreon of which a couple of different ideas, and this was the one that they picked. So if you want to be involved in picking future episode topics, head over to patreon.com/the Forest School podcast. Lots of lovely things over there, and all the support that we get really helps to support the podcast. But this is what the people want.
Yes.
I think
they've spoken.
So false memories at Forest School, and I wanted to engage with, because my gut reaction when someone says like false memories, implanted memories, is like the negative side of that. Do you know what I mean? Hey everybody, we've got some exciting things planned exclusively for our Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/the Forest School podcast. If you want more in-depth discussions, bonus episodes and other exclusive content, head over to our Patreon and support the podcast. You won't want to miss it. patreon.com/the Forest School podcast. When I was trying to do research about it, so much of it is about witness tampering and the justice system and how easy it is to put false memories into people's minds that they hold on to. But I think we might be able to engage with it in a different way, because I think there is a plus side of false memories, which so many people listening will hopefully relate to this, which is when you take groups of kids out, it seems to be a lot of the time when it happens at night, when there's an element of mystery, there's an element of like nobody knows quite what you saw, what quite happened, because of that kind of twilight hours or whatever, if you take a group out, and you will come back and say to a group, you might go on a walk and maybe you heard a couple of owls, or get a bat detector out, but you get back and you ask a group of, particularly younger children, oh, what was it like on your night walk? What did you see? 17 owls came and landed on my shoulders, and a deer came up to me and said, you are the chosen princess. And I said, I have to go now. And then I came back, and that's what happened on the walk. Like, wow. Obviously bullshit. Like, obviously fucking bullshit. But does that type of potentially false memory play a role in nature connection? And what stuff that we like, I was trying to think as well, like what stuff might you and I and our listeners be carrying from our childhood that is possibly not even like a false memory, in that sense of like this has been created completely artificially, but a false memory in terms of like, I remember my childhood, there was never any arguing, and ginger beer was flowing, and we used to day for miles and miles, and that kind of false memory that's like a positive nostalgia type thing.
It's kind of like, if we were going to call it something else, like, because I know what you mean. False memory sounds so negative, and like something's gone wrong in your brain, and therefore it's false, and you've stored something. Whereas you could call it something about like something to do with imagination, and like imagination being so strong that it seems real. So it's not really a false. It's almost like it's like the storytelling. We did that podcast years ago about storytelling and the human brain, and how the brain looks for reasons for things, and reasons for maybe why you felt a certain way, and then creates a story to explain how you felt. And it's almost like maybe that is kind of happening. And I'm reading a book at the moment which I really want to put about plants, and the author is talking about the very, very strong nature connection and the really profound experiences that lots of children have in nature. And she references another book or paper that I really want to read called something like The Eco-Psychology of Imagination in Childhood. I'm like,
ooh,
yes, give it to me now, please.
Like all those words, please. Yum, yum,
Juicy,
yum.
please. Amazing. And then she's got loads of little extracts of writers having these like really profound moments in nature as children and remembering those things. And one guy being like, my best ever memory was me, aged 8 or whatever, standing on a tree stump, and I was the itness of everything. Like there was no future, no past. Like it was just me on the tree stump, and that was like, oh. And then maybe you have these kind of, the thing you're describing about like the night walk for a child could be like it could have the effect of being so like moving and so monumental that you feel these emotions, and then you're like, oh, why did I feel so strongly about that? Maybe I'll make my imagination will fill in these gaps and make a story that the magical owls came and told me that I was the princess of their realm, or whatever it was you said. Maybe something like that is going on. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have any particular like memories in inverted commas from childhood that might be nature related and false, but I definitely do wonder sometimes about the really strong memories I have about being in nature as a child. And a bit like you just described, in my memory, it was all the time. Like me and my friends were damming the stream and getting covered in mud and spending the entire day doing that. Or me and my friends were in our inflatable dinghy in the slightly dangerous bit of the river every day. Or me and my friends were like making stuff out of hay bales every single evening of the summer. And in fact, did those things just happen literally once? And did I spend... They were like 5 occasions over the 10 years of my childhood that I remember. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't, because they're so profound, and in a way they're such simple occurrences. Like damming a stream shouldn't be that monumental, but it is. And so it's almost like expanded to fill time. Like, oh, I must have done that 100 times in order for it to be so important in my mind. Whereas
So
I can't trust that.
hypothetically then, how would you feel if you were to, like, let's say, bring up that memory with an adult, like someone who was an adult at that time, who then said to you, oh, you went there like twice.
Yeah.
How, like, what's your...
Thing is, there were no adults there, and no
Okay.
one would know.
Okay.
And I almost wonder whether that's why it's so profound. Like these memories have some kind of element of
Sure.
danger or risk or excitement because an adult isn't there and you don't
Hmm.
feel safe. And so somehow it's ingrained, or maybe there's some like really ingrained like learning happening there, maybe that happened because an adult wasn't there. Like I fucking learned how to get myself out of the fast flowing river, or do
That's
you know what I
interesting.
mean? Or I got
Yeah.
absolutely head to toe covered in mud, and I got stuck in the mud. That dam building one, I literally got stuck in sinking mud, and with all three of us, me and my friends, were covered head to toe in mud. And I remember standing on my mum's doorstep and singing a song about mud because we were literally covered, and it felt scary because we had to pull each other out of like the sinking mud, you know.
Sure. Sure.
So I don't know. That's not quite the same thing as what you're describing. I don't think.
No, it's not, but it is, I think, because there maybe that's a key bit there though, which is that like how we engage with these like recollections, which might not be wholly factual, and acknowledging that, because we're talking about the positive ones here of being like the, you know, that nature connection, that community
Mm.
building, that whether that memory is wholly accurate is secondary to the feelings that it gives you.
Yeah.
Now, if we think about the, in quotes, false memories that we might associate with, like, I do remember you, they said I could borrow it, or like,
Mm.
no, I remember you I don't know, smashed my thing on the ground and laughed, I remember it, like, or I'm wondering whether there's an individual element to both of those positive and negative stories, which is that you are in some ways like there's not a huge crowd of people observing those memories, therefore you have uh, more scope to go, I can mix, your brain maybe is going,
Mm.
I can mix some of your feelings in here, and I can mix some of something that you read in here, and because there's less fact checkers around in
Yeah.
that situation that was like you and one person having an argument down in the treehouse, or you and your friends falling in the mud, that like
Yeah.
these slightly muddy memories, literally or figuratively, happen when there are less fact checkers around, and how that needs to be handled as facilitators. Now I'm thinking about like our role and people discussing their like muddy memories, how we engage with that. Do you know what I mean? Whether we call
Yeah.
things out, whether we go like, well, I'm going to weigh in on the side of like, I've got an infallible memory and I don't remember that happening, or, you know, you could
Yeah.
really do some damage.
Yeah, or like trying to work out what that person needs at that time. So I'm just thinking about a time where a child at forest school was, you know, you're talking about not that there not being a lot of other witnesses around. One person
Mhm.
being in a certain part of the forest and then coming back and go, I saw an animal. I saw an animal that I've never seen before. It looked like
Mhm.
this. It looked like that. And obviously, I didn't know whether it was real or not, and I also didn't know whether the person thought it was real or not. So I didn't know whether to go, oh my God, cool. Okay, let's go look for it. Let's look at it in a book. Let's see if we can ID. Like,
Yeah,
what do
yeah.
they want from telling me that story? Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with inventing or thinking that you saw something, and there's nothing wrong with actually seeing something and telling the adult. But like, why are they telling me this? Are they telling me this because they want to create a sense of mystery and almost invite? Is it a play invitation? Is it a like?
Yeah.
Is it a okay? Let's try and hunt the mystery beast, but they kind of want me to know that it's a game, but not to acknowledge that it's
Hmm.
a game, or do they want me to literally go and look for it and idea it and see if we can find proof on it? Like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, why are they
Or a status
sharing
thing
it?
sometimes. It's like everyone else has got these stories of seeing birds or seeing stuff in the woods, and I'm going to say that I saw the biggest one. I'm going to say that the thing came down. And again, it doesn't matter if that's not factually
Mm.
accurate. The need underneath is like status, belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Here is my what's the word, like cultural capital,
Mm-hmm.
social coinage
Currency.
that I
Yeah,
can, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
those kind of things are, that looking at the need underneath is very interesting, isn't it?
yeah. When you first sort of proposed this topic, I was thinking about the kind of recommended. I don't know very much about dementia, right? But obviously this is like the other end of life for most people. But But what I have heard recently is that as far as possible, you should try to inhabit the world of the person's belief system at the time. So if they are living in a time of they are a teenager and have to go to a practice, that you inhabit that world with them as much as you can, rather than trying to explain to them, no, they're not actually in that place and in that time. And that is the recommended approach and response, because the other response is very upsetting and very dysregulating. And I don't know if any of that is applicable to what we're talking about. I think it kind of is, because
I think
as you say, like, if you're kind of trying to determine what the reason or the rationale, what the reasoning, what the needs are underneath these stories that people might tell, probably there isn't ever going to be a need. Like, I have a need to be refused in my belief, and I have a need to be made a fool of and told that I'm wrong and told that wouldn't be possible and all that kind of thing. Unless, I guess, of course, somebody is telling you that they have experienced something or seen something that is making them very upset, and that it isn't.
That's
real.
what I was going to. We want to take a moment to thank all of our amazing supporters over on patreon.com/The Forest School Podcast. Your contributions over there make a huge difference and help us to continue providing all these incredible episodes that we put out for you guys. If you're not already a supporter yet, head to patreon.com/The Forest School Podcast and contribute at whatever level you can to help us grow the podcast and support this work. Yeah, they're looking for reassurance of like, I wonder if it's this other explanation. Yeah. But then you can do that, as we've talked about over and over and over again. You can do that declaratively without then putting their story into disrepute. But by going, I wonder if it was this, or like, I wonder if we would have put it, Yeah. I was just saying to you before we started recording about somebody that had come to a couple of holiday clubs and in a row, and in between had lost something. It was a project they were working on, a stick or something, and their memory was that they had given it to me and that I had not looked after it. And I did not get it right.
Could I just ask how you know that they were wrong and you were right in terms of their memory?
Well, so I guess what my logic is that the thing they were talking about was reasonably big. Yeah. It was a project they'd been working on that was about my height. Mm-hmm. In terms of, it was lots of wood pieces put together. So I think physically I would have remembered I need to find a space for this thing. Yeah. But the conversation I had, which on reflection maybe wasn't the right one, was I went, well, if it had been given to me, this is the space I would have put it in. Yeah. It's not here. And almost like I was trying to do some like logic jujitsu, where I was going like, therefore your story is false because the evidence says otherwise. On reflection, the thing is like, I've lost my important project and I'm so overwhelmed that I need somebody to put these feelings onto. Yeah. Now, I would say jury is out on whether that is my job as a facilitator. That's something I think is interesting when you have these, once you've underpinned it to the need is like, I feel like this. I don't feel good with these feelings, but I will feel better if I can put them on to somebody else. Now, sometimes there might be a role there that is like, okay, I will eat this up for you to get you back to a state of regulation. Sometimes, and I've held up my other hand here, you might then fall into a pattern of, when I have these feelings, I'm unable to process that anything was my doing, like responsibility. Like, I'm trying not to go down this line because I like this hand less, like this side of like responsibility, ownership, dealing with your own, like acknowledging that you might have got something wrong, which is important skills.
It is important skills.
But whether that's the time and place to do it, or whether,
well,
particularly
I think what the
in forest
person is showing
school,
you is that they can't do that yet. That's what they're showing you,
I guess so.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so maybe it's like one of those situations where you go, "Oh, I gave it to you," and you go, "Oh, it's like an initial like testing the water of like, oh, I wonder if maybe you thought you had, but you'd put it somewhere else, and if they give me the second, no, I definitely gave it to you. I should have heard that as the like, I am in this moment. I cannot process that, and I need you to take it. Do you know what I mean? I would always go on.
Yeah, I think there's a way of being quite declarative about it, so that you're also not like taking on and like
Sure.
guilt that isn't yours, or behavior, or like negative actions that weren't
There's
yours.
low status. There's low status facilitating, and then there's like getting the shit kicked out of you verbally and reputationally over and over again.
Yeah, and trying to kind of preserve your relationship with them. That if you're
Mm.
both convincing each other that actually, yeah, you did do something less than ideal with their project or whatever, that the response might just be, "Oh, that's really weird. I can't see it here. I don't know. Where else can we look?" Like, do you know what I mean? It's almost like a deflecting. It's like, it's not
Just a deflection.
blaming them.
Yeah.
It's not blaming yourself. It's just like, I will help you to look for it. Where else? I'll help you go through the thought process. Let's retrace your. Yeah, I don't know, but that's hard if the person continually says, "No, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault." Oh yeah. Oh, really tricky.
Because it's like, and that's maybe where the nature connection muddy memories sit differently, because they're not changing, because they are so isolated. Those like, I saw a thing, the owl came and spoke to me. There's never a story in there that is like, the owl came and spoke to me, and they said that Wem's a twat. They really like had it like, like, because in those muddy memories, no one else is getting thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
Whereas in muddy memories that create like social friction,
Yeah.
we might have this urge to go like, find fact, find concrete, hard evidence things, and like acknowledging that maybe like they're both muddy memories, and can we approach them with the same mindset or the same thing? Hey, did you know you can become part of the Forest School Podcast community by joining us over on patreon.com/the Forest School Podcast? You'll get exclusive access to behind the scenes content, have a chance to connect with us and with other listeners. Head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/the Forest School Podcast to find out more about what we're offering over there. So one of the things that I was wondering as I was putting this out was, if you had, so we've looked at some research before where they got kids at Forest School to wear those like glasses cameras.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yep.
And so hypothetically, let's say everybody is wearing these glasses camera, and leaders are wearing like bouncer body cam. Yeah. So you have everything on record digitally. Would that change how you interact with different muddy memories? Like, do you think people would come up and say, "Oh, I saw a badger and it came out to talk to me," less if they knew they were wearing cameras?
Oh man, it's just reminding me of the debate about the use of VAR in football at the moment. Have you heard this?
Mm-hmm.
So they're debating about whether they're going to use it or not, because things happen, like a goal is scored and everybody live in the stadium and everybody watching at home from all of their angles are like, "It's a goal, celebrate." Mm-hmm. And then they run the VAR and go, "Actually it isn't, because if you look at this tiny angle that nobody without VAR would be able to see, or this tiny positioning of the
removing
players,
the human element of the experience."
Says no, like the computer says it's not a goal. And then they're basically debating and saying, well, if that happens in instances like that, where everybody who's watching it live, whether on TV or in the real moment, have a collective experience of like, that is a goal, it's only the computer that says it isn't. If you continually use that computer, you're basically wrecking the entire experience. You're making the entire experience a waste of time. And
because you're telling people not to trust themselves. You're taking away that, like, we saw a thing, because you have to wait for the
Yeah,
digital approval.
yeah, and it just completely kills it. So they are
Hmm.
now saying they're going to use it less and not ever use it in those situations, something like
Okay.
that, because they think it is like, yeah, killing the sport basically. Just reminds me of that. And I do think that, yeah, like, I mean, I think it would kill forest school, but for anything else, I don't know whether you
Sure,
get
sure, sure, sure,
fewer
sure, sure. Yeah, yeah,
false
yeah, yeah.
memories. But also, I'm thinking about those times where kids come up to you and they're like, "Do you feel like something's in the woods? Like, I feel like I'm being followed, I'm being watched, but."
Hmm.
And it's a play cue, like it's a massive play cue, and you're kind of trying to read their voice and their body language, and they do kind of half believe it, like, or maybe even more than
Hmm.
half, at the same time as knowing it's not real, and they want to play a mystery game. They want to play a emotionally unsettling, scary game, which
Hmm.
involves a lot of storytelling about like there's somebody that's following us, or there's a mysterious force, or there's a presence, or there's a wolf, or whatever, and
Yeah.
whether it'd be interesting to know whether you would also not get that type of play if people were wearing those video goggle thingies,
Sure.
um, because it just grounds it in the real world, doesn't it, rather than the imaginary world. And I think, I mean, that's the thing about the forest, isn't it? The
So
forest
play needs I
creates
think it creates
these,
privacy. We keep talking about
yeah,
in multiple episodes how like play needs some degrees of privacy, whether that's just like not necessarily an adult is involved the whole time, or like certain play types maybe more or less, or certain play. But by and large, privacy I think is a huge ingredient in play, and whether we want to acknowledge it or like overtly or not, like the presence of cameras
mm,
that like remove some elements of privacy, whether that, because sometimes that can also be like cameras that people have got on their phones, or cameras that like, so it's not glasses but it's doing the thing.
yeah.
um
I just want to say something about like the
yeah.
fact that maybe if we're kind of grouping together muddy memories and storytelling in terms of somebody coming up to you and going, I've just been followed by a whatever. That's not necessarily what I would call a false memory or muddy memory. It's like a storytelling, like imagination overlapping into the real world. Do you see what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think there's maybe the reason this has come up as a topic for you, and now we're having enough juicy little morsels to talk about, is that this kind of stuff happens in the woods way more than anywhere else, and that
Oh.
it's always been that way through human evolution, which is why we have so many fairy tales set in the forests, why we have so many stories set in the forest, and it's like not only is the forest a metaphor for loads of things about kind of human life, but it's also it is just a setting where your imagination plays tricks on you. You think you see something, but you don't. Like it's shady. There's a lot of hidden corners. There's a lot of light and shade. There's a lot of
Hmm.
fast creatures. There's a lot of hiding places. There's stuff in our kind of animal response to the forest, which is going to influence our imagination and our memories potentially. I just think that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yes, I think you're right in that also. Yeah, the forest gives you that thing of a bit of like not less witnesses, but less like human witnesses. Less, like you're free to have that thing. I was going to say that I think a big thing for me when I was thinking about this question about cameras and how that would change things, whether I would want them or not want them, and I was thinking about how we engage with, I'm going to call them muddy memories because I've landed on this as a
Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
How we engage with other people's muddy memories, whether we believe them muddy or not, um, and particularly how we as leaders model engaging with muddy memories in front of groups, in front of participants, is a very valuable experience for the rest of your life. In that, if you are well practiced, if you the response that you see modeled to muddy memories is like challenge, confrontation, no you didn't, here's the evidence that you didn't, here's the da, 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 then that is also how you will approach like confrontations in a cafe, or how you will approach like somebody telling you their worldview from their experience where they went on a gap year, or how you will experience like someone's faith when they explain their world to you. And if you have been modeled like cameras, no, let's go, here's the hard evidence, concrete, like we find the thing and people get trapped in corners, and like that is like internet arguing in real life. Here's my source. Oh well, I've got this source. Oh well, yeah, well my source is better than your source. Oh well, my camera is a better quality than your camera, so you da. Actually, I think there is a huge amount of learning and modeling that happens from how we do engage with these like stories of engaging, like does this, like modeling, like, and I do it because my children are 5 and 7, and already I'm having conversations with both of them where we might go, okay, but does it matter if they think that like that they're the dragon today, because they're not actually in this game that we're, so does it matter if they're the dragon? No, I suppose not. Well, let's just go along with them being the dragon then. That modeled into adult life, doesn't matter if someone, believes it was their seat. Well, let's not have a confrontation about it. Let's kind of acknowledge the needs and go, well, do I need that chair at my table in the cafe? Well, if maybe I do, maybe I don't, but I'm not going to go, well, I think factually do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean completely. And that reminds me of times where we might try to mediate and help in times of social disagreement where two people are saying, I can't believe you did that when I did that. No, I didn't. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't. You did. You called me this name, or you took the thing that I said I was going to use. No, I didn't. No, when they're disagreeing about something that may or may not have happened, which you haven't seen. And that often people try to call on you for like judge arbitration and jury. Yeah. They did this thing. You have to believe me. So now punish them because I'm telling you they did the thing, and the other person's going, "No, I didn't."
And I'm trustworthy. I'm the trustworthy one.
Yeah, and that the only way I can mediate in those situations is to basically try to bring people back to the present and try to get them to express one another's needs right now. So, like, almost. I mean, it sounds really dismissive, and I don't know whether, like, as always, maybe there is a better approach than the one I'm doing, because if you scale this up to a bigger incident, I'm talking about minor incidents, right? I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go, doesn't matter whether or not that thing happened. Let's just move forward. Like, if an accusation was made and it was serious, then of course, obviously, I would take that seriously and believe the person who's telling me that. But in terms of one person has one memory of an event, like you said, I could use the thing after you, and the other person says, no, I didn't. I said that. I have never found any success in trying to get the true story. Do you know what I mean? I've never found any success in, you tell me your version of events. Okay, now you tell me your version of events. Did that really happen? What do you let's really try and remember like that. I've never found that to work. I've only found to work
because one person is always going to go away like, oh, I was not believed, and and that's not going to be regulating. That's just going to like ferment further.
And to relive the like perceived injustice by rehashing this memory, muddy or not, again and again, is not in any way regulating. What is regulating is to try to go, we're here now, I am here, I'm listening. What do you want to happen next? Tell this person. What do do you agree to do this? Whatever, like, I'm feeling this way, I need this thing. Do we agree to not do this thing or do this thing? Yeah. Sorry, that was very waffly.
It makes sense. I'm wondering slightly cheekily whether you think it would be possible if you and I put our heads together and genuinely planned it out. Do you think we could put a false memory into a group?
That's really horrible.
Like, okay, but it could be no, because I'm not talking about a sinister memory. I'm not talking about like you all agreed that you would like get punched in the face. What I mean is like, if we very earnestly put in a story about how a deer walked through the main camp in front of everybody and some people got to stroke it. Like, could we earnestly put that and what would be the implications? Because if we're acknowledging, this is my like hypothetical, but go with me on it. Okay. So if we acknowledge that muddy memories, false memories, inconsistent memories are a positive tool for nature connection sometimes, then does it follow that putting fake memories in place could be a tool at outdoor educators, you know, do you know, like, could that? Do you know what I mean? Though,
I
follow
do
me
know.
with you. So, if you're saying this is good
Yeah.
and this makes nature connection happen, and it doesn't hurt anyone, and it results in the participants having a higher level of nature connection when they leave, is it ethical to
No.
put in false nature connection memories?
No.
Okay, then what? And then tell me now what the difference is, because I think I know. But is it just a question of ownership then between who's made up the muddy memory or who's? Because do you get my logic there of like, if you acknowledge that they're positive, then
I kind of do, but I don't think I could ever.
I'm being silly. I don't believe.
I
that,
know.
But I'm taking the point to see where we can go with it.
I think I would feel completely comfortable sharing a potentially muddy memory from my own life with some other people. I would feel
that you were aware was slightly muddy
or uncertain. Yeah, like the stream thing, you know, like, oh, I did that every day, or then this, like, I think I would feel fine doing that. I think it's so personal, and I think it's so.
Is it because what I'm suggesting is nature gaslighting?
Yeah. And yeah, it is gaslighting, and it's like, I don't think
that's what I've invented. I've invented nature connection through gaslighting.
Yeah.
And which I'm
you're owning that. Copyright it. I think it would be
new book coming out 2025.
Yeah.
Nature connection through gaslighting by Ames. Maybe.
I can imagine.
Who knows?
You could like, and I do say this something. I'd say this sometimes. Like, oh guys, imagine what would happen. Like, if a deer came in and one day we actually got straight. My God, so good. I think that is the same, like, in terms of the effect of.
Yes, because you're imagining it, and you can, you could describe that very vividly, couldn't you? And say, oh, we could touch its scratchy fur and its wet nose, and you could really give people because then it's storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's storytelling
and
rather
it's
than
inspiring
like
maybe some imagination down the line, you know, about like, oh yeah, God, what would happen if that happened? Oh, let's go and play a game about it, or tell a story about it, or whatever. That it's making a possibility that might happen. In the same way as telling a story about something that someone's experienced, like, I saw that animal down in the bottom of the corner of the thing. We're such an empathetic species that we can hear somebody say that they had that experience, and we can place ourselves there, and we can imagine how that must have felt, and we can almost share that magic with them, even if it never even happened. And that's why I think it's beneficial that, you know, telling these stories of like, I had this magical nature connection moment, even if it didn't happen, are, I think, harmless and magic.
Well, let's end it there then.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Oh, lovely.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. So let's recap, think about some of the big takeaways. So we've got this idea that like muddy memories, while they might not always be factually accurate, can have a very positive role in nature connection.
Yeah, and the way that we respond to these muddy memories as facilitators can like actually model important skills for the young people and navigating different perspectives. And what is it about the forest there? Providing a unique setting that stimulates your imagination and storytelling. So I guess as educators and parents, we can consider how we create space for that kind of imaginary storytelling in nature without dismissing or over-analysing the experiences that we hear about. And the emotional truth of the experience can actually be just as valuable as the factual accuracy of it.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with another educator, with another parent, somebody else that's a nature enthusiast. Don't forget you can visit theforestschoolpodcast.com to give us feedback, suggest topics, listen to past episodes. So until next time, stay wonky.
Stay